Hi, I'm Everett. Welcome back to the shop. This time what we've got is a project that's a bit of a collaboration with another fellow Canadian YouTube producer. His name's Chris. He's from the channel Just1Guy Metalworks. He contacted me quite a while ago and we had a good visit, and well, actually it's quite a while ago. It's been a number of months that he's been waiting for this part. We were talking and he was asking if I could cut him a couple pieces to make a sliding dovetail so he could continue on with his project where he's building a taper attachment for his lathe. He doesn't have a mill, so that's why he was asking, for the favor. And thanks, Chris. Thank you for your patience. It's been a number of months, and because of the move, it's now time to get this dealt with, or else it's not going to happen for at least another 4 or 5 months as I try to get my other shop, or my new shop, finished out and set up and whatever. So the hurry was on, the pressure was on, so we got to get at it. He sent me some diagrams that were on the backs of pizza boxes, took pictures of them and sent them to me. So then what I did is I took those numbers and that data and made up a little bit more of a formal CAD drawing with it, and sent a copy to him, and figures we're good with that. And so yeah, I got a couple pieces of one piece is scrap, and then the other piece is a piece we picked up for it. It's the first time I've cut a dovetail this big, and the first time I've gotten to play with my Randy Richard single point dovetail cutter. So hope you find it interesting. It's just one of those things where before I tear this shop down, I have to get this dealt with because I'm not going to have machine tools for a while. The bar is 3" 8 thousandths approximately outside, so it's going to be a little under 3 inches by the time we're done. We need to get rid of this scale, the mill scale on either side first, and then once I have that so I can clamp it flat in the vise, then we're going to clean up the flat surfaces. So I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a machinist, and he was suggesting for this portion here, he said, just take your 3" face mill and put one cutter in it. Just use it as a fly cutter, so then you have your carbide. It's nice and rigid, and just use that to burn through the mill scale. So that's what we're going to do. Now the thing is, it is 11 o'clock at night, and both kids and the better half are asleep at the moment. So I'm hoping this noise won't wake anybody up. Let's take a 25 thousandths cut. Get a little motion all the way down. See where she goes. Nice. Just going to finish out the stroke at the same speed so we get the same finish on it. I mean, it's certainly not a mirror finish, but it's also still only 10/18, right? So I'll do the best I can. I'm going to break this down. I'll bring it back in when we're flipped over. So I've got the bar flipped over in the vise and on the clamps and stuff. I didn't want to film all the setup, whatever, just because of the fact it took me a little while to adjust it and fiddle it and get it solid. Now, in order to ensure that I didn't get it tilted one way or the other, what I wound up doing was I used a planer gauge. I'll admit, it was one of those things where I saw Adam Booth play with one and I wanted one really badly. So this was quite a while ago when seemed like it was a little easier a few years ago to get some bargains on eBay for machining tools. Anyway, I got this one for, I'm not going to say how much, but it was a really good deal. So what I did was on both sides, I twitched and tapped and made sure it was sitting down in the vise, but then using the planer gauge, I will go underneath the edge of end of the material here in the machine part on both this portion and the one on the other end until I had the same amount of drag either way. So will it work for, you know, trying to make laminated plates to work on the Space Shuttle rocket booster? No, probably not. But for making a dovetail bar to fit a 50, 60-year-old lathe, yeah, it should work fine. All right, and so we took 25 thousandths off the other side. That means, and we had 3-inch 8 thousandths to start with, including scale. So now we are 2-inch 985. Well, excellent, because the sketch that Chris and I eventually sort of came up with as far as final dimensions was 2-inch 960 for width, so looks like we should be not too far off of that. There we go. Add 25. Give it another slather. Off we go. All right, but for the most part I still see the crosshatch most of the way along, so it'll work for what I need. Okay, next step is break this down and set it up to mill the one face. 2-inch 963. Well, considering the error that these things can have, that'll work. It's close enough for what I need. Okay, so this setup will be significantly simpler simply because of the fact that we're running across the flat side. I can set it on parallels in the vise. We've got a good clamp on it. There's going to be less deflection sideways because of the width of the material. There will be a little bit of, it could potentially be some deflection downward a little bit or shifting, so that's why I put the jacks underneath here. Thanks again, Phil and Pierre. These are awesome. What I also did was I took just to get it roughly set up, it's hot rolled, right? So it's not like it's a precision, precision rolled piece to start with. Using the height gauge, checking from one end to the other here, we're, like I say, we're about 4 thousandths of an inch low on this side versus this side. It doesn't matter. This is going to become the back side afterwards. This side will have the dovetail on when we're done. We just need to cut this down so it's basically smooth, get rid of this little rest of this radius on the edge here, or the corner of this mill scale, and go from there. So I'm just going to leave the single point cutter in like we were doing before and go from there. Grab my work of art oil pot that Phil gave me. Thanks, Phil. Apply a liberal coating of motion lotion. That reminds me, I gotta call my Uncle Mark one of these days. That was his saying. See how he's doing. Yeah, it's leaving a bit of a burr on the other side that we'll have to file off, but other than that, it seems to be doing well. Ow! That hurt. The old saying of why they call it a fly cutter, because it makes little hot, nasty pieces of shrapnel fly all over your shop. Yeah, at some point I may have to come up with a little bit of a system of a chip catcher, especially at the new place. I mean, my better half's been quite understanding, but at a certain point it does just kind of get old having little bits of sharp, metally nastiness, picking up on your socks in the house. I can also see where a power feed would be handy. However, what I've seen on most of the ads for these machines is if you add a power feed, you lose a few inches worth of your travel. And part of the reason why I wanted a bigger machine was more work envelope, so I don't know. I'm still torn. Wow. You know something? Apart from the really sharp edges, which I'm keeping my fingers away from, I really like that finish. I'm going to take a couple more cuts to bring it down below where the radius is here, and then I'll bring you back in when I'm done this side and deburred on these corners, and then flipped over to do the business side of the dovetail block. What I've got now is I've taken the nasties off of the, well, it'll be this side here, this corner. Truthfully, I used the flapper wheel on the angle grinder and took the worst of it off and then finished it off with a file. It would have looked nicer with a chamfer, but that's fine. It'll still work. I have the piece mounted up here in the vise, a little bit of support either end again. Use the planer gauge again to go under both ends. Make sure that it's got about the same amount of drag either end. Resistance feel with that guy. Now, I've also taken and taken and puttin'. Nice to know 5 years and 50 grand is completely useless. What I've also done is I've taken and run some black marker down either side with a scribe line that's 505 thousandths in. Now, because nominally the very top of the dovetail would have been 2 inches across with sharp corners, by blunting off the end, just basically truncating that corner a little bit by about 25 thousandths either side, it's 50 thou shy of 2 inches, so 1 inch 950. Well, in order to make it centered on this block, the block itself is 40 thousandths narrower approximately than the nominal 3 inches. So we need to come in 505 thousandths either side, which that was what that scribe mark is. We're going to have to do some roughing passes first, and then we'll come in and make our final finish pass to size. We're going to need to actually cut down by 370 thousandths of an inch. That way it gives us about 5 thousandths of clearance on the top into the other side of the dovetail. So yeah, you can see here the I forgot to turn the camera on. So you can see these lines here. I've already applied oil on this side, and that line is 505 from the edge. Yeah, as I say, we got to go down 370, so I'm going to take a few cuts here and then take a measurement and then figure out my math from there of where we need to go. What I did was, this last pass was getting close to final dimension. Theoretically, I should have only another 13 thousandths to go on this face and another 5 thousandths to go on this side, which is small enough that I'm almost willing to risk climb milling. Yeah, it would be 390. So we got 387, 388. Okay. Well, 1 thou over a foot and a half. Well, a little over a foot. That's not so bad. We've actually got less to take off than I thought. All right, so we have 7 thousandths to go that way, and 5 more to move that way. Here we go. Put a little bit of resistance on the x-axis. Leaving about the same finish as I was doing the other way. Maybe I won't bother with a climb mill pass on the other side. And yeah, there we go. 1 thou over there. 1 thou over there. Okay, I'm happy with that. You saw me do the one side. I'm going to do this side similarly, only it's going to be the same setup in the vise. I'll just cut it on this side, and I'll bring you back in a few. To cut the dovetail, finally have a chance to pull these out. I got these off of Randy Richard, got to be a couple years ago now. The dovetail cutters that he makes. And yeah, he's a really cool guy. And chances are you know who he is. If you don't, I'd be rather surprised, because if you're watching my channel, chances are you've seen his and what he does. The guy's a genius. But yeah, I got these off of him. And I think he's still making these. I heard rumblings of him getting a little tired of making them. Maybe that was just a rumor. But, you know, it looks kind of cool. You can see his, I don't know if you can see the logo, his channel in the front there. Yeah, these are apparently made from bolts for a Sikorsky helicopter landing gear. Now, as far as speed on this, probably should speed it up, because he was running the one video I was seeing there at 1800 RPM. Okay, so we're going to grab a fresh rolling paper. You know, it's amazing how long a pack of rolling papers lasts if you don't smoke. Just starting to grab there. That's going to be our 0 for the table, or z-axis. That's not 0, I already take a cut. That'll be 0 there. So the video I was watching of Randy using this, his cutter the other day, he was using about a 20 thou depth of cut. See how this goes. Well, we started at 20 anyway. I think I take more than that. Let's take 30. Nice. Well, so far so good. Let's do another 30. A little bit of motion lotion. Try that again. All right, 2.6 to 1. All right, we got about 13 or so left to go. I'm going to leave this side for now, and we're going to cut the back side, and then that leaves me a few thousandths to be able to adjust it either way and get it centered to the actual bar itself. It just gives me a little bit of wiggle room in case I have to adjust it. I'm just going to cut the back side off camera and bring it back in for the final passes. This side here we left a bit of extra room for finish machining. This side here I just finished roughing. We're looking for 2-inch 256 across the pins. We have 2-inch 270, so that means we have 14 thousandths to take off between the two sides. Again, I'm trying to get this as centered as possible. I mean, yeah, within a few thou would probably be okay, but I mean, let's shoot for bang in the center. Why not? Okay, so right there. Come on, there. Get a good feel there. 2-inch 617, 2-inch 616. Well, I guess we're close to a thou anyway. So really, if we take 7/1000 off of either side now, we'll get center and our number for across our pins. I'm just going to take 7 from both sides and bring it back in after. Alright, so I just did a couple more finishing passes on here, 7/1000 on either side, and survey says 2.609, 9.5-ish. Oh, 2.611, okay. 2.257. So we're within 2/1000 centered, and we're within 1/1000 of our, target for our dovetail. That is good enough for what I'm doing. What I need to do now is I'm going to pull the dovetail cutter out, and we're going to put the face mill back in to clean up this top surface here. Now, I am happy with that. Alrighty, so now we can, we got our fly cutter face mill back in here with one insert. Going to raise the table up, and we have to now take this piece of material down to 750 or 3/4 of an inch, roughly 19 millimeters. This is just a roughing pass, so I can pull this off fast. Alright. It's funny how get rid of that scale on the top there with that cut in there. That's now starting to look a lot closer to finished. As I say, we need 750. We have 913, 914 or so. 913. So yeah, I gotta cut it down a little bit yet to get it to thickness. Make a few more passes. Now, because this is the finish pass, I have to slowly feed off to keep consistency. Roughing passes, I didn't bother, just went back to the start. Now we're going to take this out. There. And one thought I had is to take a spotting drill and use it as a chamfering bit. It may just cause things to go sideways, at which point you may be hearing horn honking in the video. Yeah, it works a lot better than trying to do it with a file. Okay, so I guess I do have a chamfering bit of sorts. Alright. Yeah, well, that is significantly faster than trying to do that all with an angle grinder and a file. I approve. So the last step we need to do is to, well, basically side mill either end and finish up with our last bits with a file, and we're done. With this part anyway. I got his bandsaw cut, so I mean, can't expect too much for square. Yeah, that's acceptable. You just want to clean the ends up. Doesn't have to be fancy. All right. I'm going to just do the other end up, and then we can break this down and clean up. Well, at least for this part. So I'm going to have to make this into a two-part video. First part, yeah, like I say, we got our little male dovetail block section made up. Couple little things on it that I'm not, 100% happy with, but it fits and it does and it works. But otherwise, yeah, it'll work for him. He can adjust it as he wishes. Otherwise, next time around, we got to make the female side and make sure it all fits. So I hope you stick around for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks to everybody who comes by, whether you're subscribed or not. I appreciate those of you who do. If you aren't, then that's cool. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the likes, the subscribes, and the comments and emails and things. I have learned a lot from those who have made comments and sent me emails correcting different things I've done. Hey, I'm not above learning. So anyway, thanks everybody. See you next time.